She asked a complete stranger to follow her into a department store bathroom. Mid-pitch, mid-meeting, with her entire business on the line, the stranger said yes. That bathroom trip turned into $1 billion. Before we continue, drop a comment. Let me know where you're watching from. I'm curious. Let's keep going. Dallas, Texas, 2000, Neiman Marcus headquarters. Sara Blakely was 29 years old, sitting across from one of the most intimidating people she'd ever met. The buyer's pen matched her belt. Her belt matched her shoes. Everything was coordinated, professional, expensive. Sara had flown herself to this meeting, bought her own ticket from Atlanta. This wasn't venture capital funded. This was her $5,000 in savings, 2 years of door-to-door rejection, and one product she'd cut together in her apartment. She had 10 minutes. The buyer was polite but clearly unconvinced. Sara could see it, the slight lean back, the quick glance at the clock, the half-smile that said, "This meeting is almost over and I'm being nice about it." Most people would have pushed through the pitch, smiled, thanked her for her time, left with a business card and a promise to stay in touch. Sara did something else. She looked at this impeccably dressed woman and said, "Will you come with me to the bathroom?" Silence. The buyer blinked. "Excuse me. I know it's weird, but will you just please come with me to the bathroom? I want to show you my product before and after." Here's what that moment actually was: career suicide. Sara knew it. Standing there, asking a Neiman Marcus buyer to follow her into a public restroom, she knew exactly how ridiculous it sounded. She'd spent 7 years selling fax machines door to door. She knew what professional looked like. Businessmen in Florida had literally ripped up her business cards in front of her face. Police had escorted her out of buildings. She'd learned to read rooms, to stay composed, to not embarrass herself. And now she was doing the exact opposite. Because she could feel the meeting slipping. She could see this buyer's interest fading. And Sara had one belief that overrode everything else: if I can just show her, she'll get it. But showing her meant asking a stranger to go into a bathroom with her. At the time, Sara Blakely wasn't some confident entrepreneur with nothing to lose. She was a 29-year-old who'd failed the LSAT twice, worked 3 months dressed as a chipmunk at Disney World, and was still working full-time selling office equipment while building this idea on the side. She had everything to lose. The buyer could have laughed, could have ended the meeting, could have told the story at every industry event for the next decade. "This girl asked me to go to the bathroom with her during a pitch." Sara asked anyway. The buyer paused, then stood up. They walked to the bathroom. Sara went into a stall, put on her prototype underneath her pants and came back out, showed the buyer the difference. The smooth lines, the way it worked, the thing she'd been trying to explain for 10 minutes in a conference room. The buyer looked at her, then at the product, then back at Sara. "It's brilliant, I get it. I'm going to try it in 7 stores and see how it goes." 7 stores. Not a polite rejection, not a "we'll think about it." 7 actual Neiman Marcus locations. Sara flew back to Atlanta, and reality hit immediately. She just landed her first major retailer, which meant she needed inventory, which meant she needed cash she didn't have. So she did what any rational business person would do. She called everyone she knew and paid them to go buy Spanx at Neiman Marcus so the numbers wouldn't tank in week 1. She also did something else. She drove to Neiman Marcus locations, walked in and moved her product from the back corner where they'd placed it to the front registers. Without permission. She just did it. When store managers figured out that nobody had approved this, the products were selling so well that Neiman Marcus corporate said, "Whatever this girl's doing, let her keep doing it." At this point in the story, most people would assume Sara learned to play the game, that she figured out the right way to do business. She didn't. Against the advice of her parents, her boyfriend, and her lawyer, She signed up for a reality TV show in 2005 called The Rebel Billionaire. Her lawyer told her it was a terrible idea. Her parents worried about her reputation. She did it anyway, finished second, won $750,000, used it to start the Sara Blakely Foundation. Then there was the Oprah thing. Most startups would hire a PR firm, pitch through proper channels, wait for their shot at getting noticed by someone like Oprah Winfrey. Sara mailed Oprah a basket with a handwritten note from her apartment in Atlanta. 6 weeks later, Oprah held up Spanx on national television and called it one of her favorite things. Sales exploded, but Sara still didn't hire help. She was shipping orders in regular envelopes with no tracking numbers. She was answering customer service emails herself. She was doing everything wrong according to every business textbook ever written. And it worked. Here's what Sara figured out that most people never do. Embarrassment loses its power when you stop trying to avoid it. She started doing it on purpose. Years later, when Spanx was already a billion-dollar company and Sara was already a billionaire, she posted a video of herself at an airport walking up to complete strangers and asking them to follow her on Instagram. Not as a publicity stunt, as practice. When being embarrassed actually becomes the goal, she explained, it flips the whole thing on its head. Eventually, the brain starts to say, hey, that wasn't so bad, I survived. She also started something at Spanx called Oops Meetings, where employees stand up and share their mistakes out loud, usually turning them into funny stories. Because Sara had learned something selling fax machines in Florida heat, nobody remembers your mistakes as much as you think they do, and the people who do remember them, they're not the ones who matter. From 1998 to 2000, Sara worked full-time at Danka selling fax machines while building Spanx at night. She drove to North Carolina to pitch hosiery manufacturers. Every single one turned her down. 2 weeks after that failed trip, one manufacturer called her back. A man with 3 daughters who said he'd changed his mind after thinking about his girls being in Sara's shoes someday. She spent a year creating the prototype, wrote her own patent application because she couldn't afford a lawyer, bought the trademark for $150 on her credit card. No business school, no investors, no safety net. Just a woman who decided that looking professional mattered less than solving an actual problem. Spanx hit $4 million in sales its first year. $10 million by 2012, Sara Blakely became the youngest self-made female billionaire in the world. Forbes put her on the cover. She still owned 100% of her company. No outside investors, no debt. In 2021, Blackstone bought a majority stake in Spanx. The company was valued at $1.2 billion. Sara kept her role as executive chairwoman. To celebrate the deal, she gave each of her 750 employees $10,000 in cash and 2 first-class plane tickets to anywhere they wanted to go. Because that's what you do when you stop caring about looking like a serious businessperson and start caring about actually being one. Sara didn't overcome her fear of embarrassment. She weaponized it. The bathroom pitch at Neiman Marcus wasn't brave. It was desperate. It was a 29-year-old woman who knew she had one shot and decided that embarrassment was a cheaper price than regret. What most people miss about Sara's story is that she wasn't confident when she did these things. She was uncomfortable, awkward, aware of how ridiculous she looked. She just cared more about the outcome than the optics. And here's the thing nobody talks about. It didn't get easier. Even decades later, even after becoming a billionaire, Sara still practices embarrassing herself on purpose because the fear never fully goes away. The difference is she stopped letting it make decisions for her. At the time, nobody was calling this genius or revolutionary or anything dramatic like that. It was just a woman making slightly uncomfortable decisions with limited information, mild doubt, and the quiet hope that maybe, just maybe, caring less about what strangers thought would matter more than looking competent. Most people spend their entire lives perfecting the performance, rehearsing, polishing, making sure they never ask anyone to follow them into a bathroom during a business meeting. Sara Blakely became a billionaire specifically because she was willing to do exactly that. There's another story dropping next week about someone who played it safe, followed all the rules, looked professional the entire time, and watched their competitors pass them by. You should probably watch that one too.